On October 20th, 1967, me and Roger were riding up the creek in Bluff Creek, and we looked to past the root ball to our left, and up stood this creature. Now, you all know the story from here, but this is the confession. So, when I chased this creature up the bowling alley just after the sandbar there, she kind of put her two hands on this log and started to bend over and shake her rear end there profusely, and I saw those Bigfoot cheeks clap. And I looked back, and Roger, he was doing some relaxed dance, and he said, "Now everybody in the club getting tipsy." I'm not sure what that meant. And, well, all I thought was, they really are real. They really do exist. So that's the confession, and Russell Accord can suck my...
Yeah, well, a lot of folks did call him Too Good, but that wasn't because he was sporting two pistols. That was because he had a dick that was so big, it was longer than the barrel on that Walker Colt that he carried.
I'm here to do one thing, is to bring one of these creatures back. I don't want to talk right now.
So don't get mad.
Just keep the camera off right now, okay? I said I don't want to talk. You got it? Joan, get me a Snapple.
Joan, get me a Snapple. Famous last words, I guess. Welcome, everybody, to the Squatchers Lounge podcast. I'll get a little bit louder here in just a moment. Yeah. There we go. As soon as I can see what the hell's going on here, I'll be glad to. Hey, there we go. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Squatchers Lounge podcast. I'm your host, the Reverend Gun Kelley, and we're going to be here tonight to talk about Texas Bigfoot. That's right, the Texas Bigfoot. A little bit of wrap up after the Bluff Creek camp out, and some medical updates on me if anybody is really still interested. It just seems like it keeps getting worse and worse and worse. Yeah, the day before last day of the camp out, I took a spill. I tripped on my damn dog's. My Herman Munster foot rolled on the dog toy as I was cleaning my bowl and walking backwards like a dumbass. It's all totally my fault. No, nobody's blaming anybody else. 150% my dumbass fault. But I took a good tumble to the ground, busted both of my shoulders pretty good. Managed to not smack my head on the fire ring. So that was a good thing. And then promptly got up with Rowdy and Joey and Aaron, and we went to try and get into the film site. And we moved, I don't know, we had to have moved thousands of pounds of trees and limbs the hell out of the way before we got down there. So by the end of the night, I couldn't lift my arms, and I couldn't even use them to get up out of a chair. So dumbass me, hurt myself far worse than I should have. I'm still recovering from it. I saw the chiropractor yesterday, and he adjusted me pretty good, gave me some new exercises to do. So I'll be on my healing from that. Then promptly came home and let the gastro doctor do a colonoscopy on me. Yeah. What can I say about that? It's a shitty deal. The prep is far worse than the actual procedure is, because you don't remember much of that. But unfortunately for me, that I didn't have a clean bill of health, and he removed what he said was a shockingly amount of material out of there. Fortunately, they did send it off for pathology, and none of it was cancerous. So how do we feel about that? I don't know. I have a feeling there's a lot more of that in my future in the next 10 years. But for now, he's okay. Next on the list is kidney surgery to get the cancer cut off my kidney. And, then we should be on we should be on the path to healing. I don't know. I have all these things wrong with me. I've got 3 more diagnoses. I'm definitely addicted friggin' druggy now. I can't compare my drug cabinet to my medicine cabinet to anybody's, because it's full of all kind of fucking shit now. But I feel good. I walk 3 miles a day, and I'm not going to let it beat me. So one way or the other, cannabis is going to save me, or the doctors are going to cut the shit out of me until it's gone. One way or the other, we're going to be here for a while. So as my friends have been telling me, I'm too fucking ornery to die. So I hope they're right. So we're, keep me in your prayers. Send me some good juju. Not everybody believes in the same God. So if you believe in the power of prayer, please, I share it back. I really could use some. All right. And with that, we're going to get on to tonight's actual topic of Bigfoot in Texas. That's right, Texas. Now, let's talk about a couple of things here. Texas is infamously known for what I'm going to refer to as the Garrett hoax, the torn up camp hoax, the East Texas Bigfoot murdered people, and the government's covering it up hoax that went on that actually brought the Bigfoot Chronicle guys were in on it. Bob Garrett was in on it. A couple of other people that were in on it. And basically, this is what I can tell you about it. I was approached by Wes Germer to participate in it. And his thoughts to me were, who cares if it's true? It's going to be worth a lot of clicks. I told him to get bent and don't bother with me again, because I'm not one of those people that just does shit for clicks, which, whatever. Sometimes I am. It all depends on what the video is. But yeah, no, I still have those messages, and I can still prove that all that bullshittery went on. However, Texas, being Texas, is a hot spot for Sasquatch sightings and encounters. And there was just one in March of this year's spring. As a matter of fact, in Rusk County, properties within walking distance of the Ebenezer Apostolic Church. I don't know that I've ever seen that word or even know that is a word, but whatever. 3 miles west of Churchill, Texas, near Henderson. My wife and I live in a rural area, East Texas, about 10 to 15 minutes away from a town, about 14,000 people. My wife and I have heard howls on 2 different occasions. Once together about a year and a half ago. It was in the afternoon, about 4 or 5 p.m., sitting outside with our dogs. Classic Bigfoot howl that sounded a good ways off. She also heard another howl about a year ago at a different property about 3 to 4 miles down the road. Her father and herself loaded up a hog in a hog trailer, and she heard the same howl that we heard together a few months before, but louder and closer. The first sighting that she had was about 2.5 years ago, happened at night while she was letting our dogs back in from using the bathroom. The dogs were usually on high alert while she was still trying to call them in. She saw and then heard a very large, dark, bipedal thing running through the pasture behind us. From the sound, she knew it was extremely heavy and was too quick for a person. I examined the area that night and the next day, but the ground was too firm for tracks. I firmly believe that she saw and heard a Bigfoot on that evening. That brings us to the most recent encounter on March 4th of 2022, about 9:20 p.m. I got a text from her while sitting in my recliner while she was in the bathtub that she sees red eyes outside the bathroom window looking at her. I wait for her to finish getting out of the bath to talk to her. She explains to me that she was standing up to get out of the tub and she had a feeling that she was being watched. She looked over to the window and saw the red eyes looking at her midway up the window. After she saw them, she immediately looked away due to being startled. The motion light on the end of the house came on when she looked away, and then she looked back, and whatever was there was now gone. I asked her if she noticed the light coming on and off before. She exited the tub and said she didn't recall it coming on, but it wasn't really paying attention. She said she wouldn't have noticed the light due to her being on the phone while in the tub, and most of it, if not nearly all of the window in her line of sight, is blocked by a large plant that's by the window. The motion light is very sensitive and responds well to the slightest of movements. Well, there you have it. A lady gets peeped by Bigfoot in the tub. These birds are just, let me sing you the song of our people. I try to get them to settle down, but can only do so much. And then here's one from the fall of last year. Driving home from taking my kids to school, the area was very wooded. Lots of wildlife, deer, wild pigs, armadillo. Yeah, armadillo, yeah, whatever. I was driving on 450 and was slowing down to a turn to Old Avinger Road when I saw something move just behind the first line of trees on my right. It was tall and black, definitely not any of the previously mentioned animals. The deep black color was what made it stand out to me because although the area is wooded, it was sunny out, and the black color looked out of place with all the other shadows. Its size and color made it stick out. When I slowed to look more, it ran into the wooded area fast. Not on four legs. It was definitely upright on two thick legs. I couldn't see its entire body, but what I saw was at least 5 to 6 feet above the edge of the road, and the ground where it was standing was 2 to 3 feet lower than the road. It took me a minute to process what I saw and to go through all the wildlife possibilities, but based on the size, the shape, and the speed, I don't think it was any of the native wildlife that we know of. You know, that's one of the things that people that see Bigfoot kind of say. You know, the long, weird looking long arms, but to me, it was the long legs that was out of place. I mean, the long arms you kind of expect with an ape, but the long legs is what always kind of threw me off. I likened them to like a weightlifter's legs. I mean, they were just big and powerful. The whole body is kind of cut to a V at the waist, and then these monster legs with a set of nuts the size of softballs. Yeah, that's right. This show isn't intended for children under the age of 13. It says it right in the description. So if you're under the age of 13, go ask if your parents love you. You might be surprised at their answer. Here is one from the fall of 2020. Ricardo. On Friday, the 23rd of October, 2020, my wife and I were seeing if a restaurant in Texas was open so we could have lunch. It was around 1 p.m. Going to the Catfish Cafe, located just west of Weatherford, Texas, on Interstate Highway 20, right next to the Brazos River. There was only one worker at the restaurant, and he told us the restaurant would not open until 4, so my wife and I decided to drive around the countryside and in that area and kill some time until 4 o'clock. Immediately just west of the restaurant, about 50 yards or so, is a bridge that goes across the Brazos River. We headed across it and stopped in the center of the bridge to look at the river scenery when we spotted a huge dark figure on the river wading in the water around ankle deep. This thing was a quarter-mile north of the bridge. At first, we thought it could be a man that was kicking the water, chasing a possible fish or something. But looking at the object a little closer, we knew that it was not a man because it was dark, tall, and hairy. We believed that it was a Bigfoot looking for his meal. We stayed on the bridge there for a good 5 minutes as no cars were coming. We drove around for a while after that and came back to the restaurant about 3:45, stopping again on the bridge to see if that thing was still there. It wasn't. And we then got our food to go and went back home to our house in Weatherford. You guys are the first people we've actually told about this incident. Ricardo and his wife see a Bigfoot in Texas on the way to get some Catfish Cafe. And, you know, that might make a good Bigfoot campfire story. Speaking of Bigfoot campfire stories, it's time for this week's Quasi Theory of the Week. I think. Yes, there it is. And now, Quasi Theories from a Quasi Scientist with your host, Dean Cooper.
Scientific evidence that Bigfoot is not a Gigantopithecus. Grover Krantz was the first to propose that Sasquatches are descendants of some species of Gigantopithecus. There are 3 known species of Gigantopithecus: Blackie, Bilosporensis, and Giganteus. Bilosporensis fossils have been found in India. Giganteus fossils are from North India and Western China. Blackie is the youngest of the species, and fossils are from Eastern China. Gigantopithecus blacki is therefore the culprit most likely to have been able to cross over the Bering Straits land bridge, since its youngest fossils are from about 100,000 years ago, and lowered sea levels from glaciation would have exposed the land bridge. Lots of different animal species did likewise, and migrated between the North American continent and Asia in both directions. Camelids, such as camels and llamas, evolved in North America and scooted to Asia via that land bridge, for example. Gigantopithecus blacki's diet is known to have been fibrous plants consisting of leaves and various grasses, especially bamboo. Bamboo seems to have been its favorite food, based on analyses of plant debris ground into the teeth that have been found. An interesting side note, Gigantopithecus teeth were first identified by an anthropologist. They were found in 1935 by Ralph von Königswald in an apothecary shop in China. They were being sold as dragon teeth. Now, relative to the scientific evidence that Bigfoot is not a kind of Gigantopithecus, the evidence comes from an experiment I have been conducting for quite some time. Regular viewers of the Squatcher's Lounge podcast will recall that I came to the aid of the Reverend Jeff and Mr. Batdorf, pseudoscientists, back in August, when Mr. Batdorf suddenly had the urge to wed his longtime female companion, and therefore was unable to uphold his end of that week's podcast. We all hope and presume that, contrary to rumors, shotguns were not involved in inducing the marriage proposal. But I digress. In that podcast, I demonstrated that, contrary to rational thinking, there are indeed occasional Bigfoot sightings in the general Chicago area, some even within a mile or two of my house. Parenthetically, the name Chicago translates to smelly or skunk, onions, in language of the Miami Illini people who lived here. So maybe what we have here are skunk apes. But again, I digress. Based on the fondness of Gigantopithecines for bamboo and the occasional nearness of Bigfoot to my house, I planted hardy bamboo around my house. I now have the largest patch of bamboo that I have knowledge of for several miles around. It has been here for almost 10 years now. After 10 years, I have found no evidence of any Bigfoot feeding on that bamboo. Nary a footprint, odd-looking hairs, nary a gifting, nor portal demons have left any trace, physical, psychic, or otherwise. I can confidently therefore announce that Bigfoot is not any kind of Gigantopithecus. I have caught a couple 3 pandas, though. They have a nice pelt and taste like chicken. This has been Dean Cooper, quasi-scientist, enlightening you with my quasi-theory of the week. You may read the text of this on my blog at bydean.com. That's BHAIDIN.com.
Bydean.com. All right, let's check out this week's camping tips for stupids.
Camping tips for stupids. Tip number 55. Wintertime is the best time for any and all excuses for cooking on the campfire. Throw away that hippie new age propane camp stove in the trash, because it's time for a man's way of cooking with fire. Real fire. Hot fire. Using fire. 'Cause America. Cooking in the wintertime on a campfire is great for 2 things: warmth, food, and just because. You ever tried eating frozen food without a sledgehammer? Then get yourself a campfire. God made food to be cooked outdoors. That's why it smells and tastes so much better, and attracts all the wildlife, so you can make more food. Now, a lot of major campgrounds will provide fire pit with the usual oversized fire ring and thick bar grill. Just flip that solid monster over and build a fire under it, and cook your brains out. The more unusual ways are using a Dutch oven. You can roast whole chickens in those sons of bitches, and great for stews or boiling dirty laundry during the apocalypse. Tripods are also a neat way of cooking over an open fire. There are even grills for them for you Texan steak lovers out there. Or go the classic whole boar on a spit way for you cannibal bastards out there. This has been Camping Tips for Stpuids. Remember to spay and neuter your idiot population.
Well, look at that. I gotta let my computer chill the hell down after that monster. It is just blasting over here. Anyhow, yeah, for sure. Camping tips for Stpuids. What's going on here? Oh, there it was. Oh shit. Oh, Flexeril. It's a muscle relaxer, and it's really starting to kick in at this point. Yeah, let's give some shout outs to say hello to everybody that's hanging out with us out there tonight. There's the Dog Band Central's in the house with us today. Hello there. Hello there. Glad you're in. Aaron Duncan and Miss Mary, of course, they were with us on the camp out there. You know, they are family. They've been 3 years running now, I think. Pretty sure, if not 4. I don't know. I suffer from CRS. Can't remember shit. There's the Shane Barber. Hello there, sir. I hope you're feeling a little bit better. We're sending some good juju and some prayers your way too, buddy. Let's see here. I guess that's what the doctor said. It was all stuck up inside my colon. It was a whole bunch of kin. Christy Sci-Fi Gal. Hello there, young lady. Glad you are with us tonight in the house. There's Ken the Viking. Hello there, Ken. Glad you're here. There's the Reverend Rod Dupree. Hello, Reverend. Glad you are always in the place to be. Eric White's in the house. What's up to you as well? Glad you are here with us. There's Dixie Q. She's always hanging out with her cousin, Dixie Normus. Let's see here. Keith Harden. Hello there, Keith Harden. I always want to call you Keith Nash. If you haven't seen Paul, then you wouldn't understand. Hello, Miss Bella Allegria. I'm glad you are with us tonight. I'm sorry you're still in the hospital, but at least you can watch us live while you're there. And we are going to be sending you some good juju and prayers as well. Let's see here. Appreciate all the good well wishes. Don't want your pity. Don't want your sorrows. Don't need your unhappiness. We're just trying to be as positive as we can as we keep pushing on through this crap, one step at a time. You know, it's rough when you've already had 3 surgeries in the last 10 months and you have 2 more to go. It does. It does wear on your it does wear on your dander a bit, as they say. Todd's our friend Tommy from Boston. He's just waking up. Glad you are with us tonight as well. Let's see here. Keith Harden, Keith Nash, and runs up and kicks that FBI guy right in the friggin' balls, dude. It was hysterical. I loved it. Let's see here. Antler Stew. That's right. Boy, we cooked a lot of shit at the camp this week. Cooked good food. Like, I'm not on a diet anymore. Like, I only eat 1,400, 1,500 calories a day, but it's all good shit. You can ask them. I mean, I cooked for the group. Rowdy came down and joined us Thursday night and brought a new friend Joey in. Can't remember Joey's last name at the moment, but he was a real good dude. We tried to get into the film site. We hiked all the way down. We hiked a good mile in past where we couldn't get past the trees, but unfortunately we just didn't have a good enough working chainsaw to be able to cut some rather large monsters the hell out of the way so that they could pull them out of the way with their trucks. But it is what it is. We'll get back up there. Hopefully we can go for the anniversary. I think that's like October 20th. I'm hoping to just be done with all this shit by then and just be able to heal and become stronger. That's all I can really pay attention to. So yeah, it's no heartburn, and that's right. Yeah, and there was spicy stuff, but still no heartburn. You just got to know how to cook that shit right. All right, back to it. That's right. We were talking about Bigfoot. Not what the hell I'm eating these days. Let's see here. Holy Jesus. I can't even read that. So we're going to skip right on by that one. But I wanted to bring your attention to this one because it's just freaking insanity that it still exists. But we're going to show you this just because there we go. So searching for Bigfoot Inc. Yeah, the Searching for Bigfoot live capture team presents Bigfoot expeditions where we travel across the USA and go deep into the wilderness to investigate evidence of new Bigfoot sightings, encounters, and events to prove that Bigfoot exists. That's right. Unfortunately, that's this guy and his son, Tom and Tom Jr. Viscardi. That's right. So be careful of what you buy into, because these fools ain't never seen a Bigfoot, ain't never been close to a Bigfoot, and the prints that they're holding there are probably out of somebody else's collection. The Texas Bigfoot sightings expeditions they had was in the winter of 2017, the winter of 2016, spring of 2016, summer of 2015. So they conned a whole bunch of people out of a bunch of friggin' money. But reported Bigfoot hairs found in April of 2006. But yeah, see the pictures of it, but you can't. It's just kind of crazy. But the Bigfoot Research Conservancy, now that's a little bit different story. Everything about them, the TBRC website is state of the art, and the group is apparently very open with research information, something we can all appreciate. The page includes the sightings report page and articles and a sighting report classifications, Operation Forest Vigil, and Operation Thicket Probe. Now, I believe these are the guys that are down there working in Area X, and some of them are really good at what they do, and, well, some of them are a bit on the strange side, but apparently we can't get to that website right now. I don't know. Is it no longer working? Oh, there it is. Yep, the North American Wood Ape Conservancy. That's right. So if you haven't checked those out, that is definitely somewhere that you could go up and check and see what they're doing in that project, because it's actually pretty fantastic. The Phantom and Monsters, police officer encounters Bigfoot in West Texas. West Texas patrol officer describes a harrowing encounter with a Bigfoot. Let's see if I can get that full screen. Maybe it'll stop screaming at me. No. As a cop, I spend a lot of time dealing with things that scare people, things that I can't or don't want to try and explain. I'm usually the person that gets the call to go check out the things that go bump in the night. Well, add in the fact that I usually work alone in the middle of nowhere. I ran across and seen something I can't rightfully explain. This was probably the first time in my career that I had ever seen a supernatural situation that had happened before in life. But cop-wise, this is a starting point of what has turned out to be a very interesting career. One night at the end of July, I was cruising back the county roads trying to find some kind of trouble to get into. And as the only deputy out in the county that night, I had been busy up to a point. Then the calls had slacked off after midnight. I hadn't seen a single soul for the last few hours, and I decided I would try and be proactive for a bit. The night was hot, and I had the window rolled down, and I had been driving for a few hours straight with no luck at finding anything. On the left side of the road was nothing but cornfields as far as you could see. I was getting close to harvest time. I was sitting in the truck, head laid back, just enjoying a little break. I had closed my eyes for a second. When I opened them, I looked out into the cornfield and made direct eye contact with something. At first, I thought it was a person, and it almost gave me a heart attack right there. The thing stood about 7 feet tall. Its eyes were human, but they shone in the light like an animal eyes. I'm not a weak man. I've done more stupid and foolish things in my time than I care to remember. I've been afraid before, and I'm not above admitting it. There was something about those eyes that absolutely terrified me. I kept eye contact with the thing. I slowly rolled the window, and without breaking, I checked out with the dispatch over the radio and grabbed my patrol rifle off its mount above me. I've never been a particularly fast runner, and I've never cared much for it, and I've always been more of a short burst kind of guy. Whatever I was going after was fast, though. It didn't dawn on me until much later that it was probably just playing with me and leading me further into its miniature forest. I would catch a black burr moving off in the distance. I had a branch break or a sound off to the side. I'd stumble around like this for a good 15 minutes before my bravado and adrenaline wore off, and I decided I should head back to the truck because I was alone and scared at this point. So that's absolutely insane. Coming from Mr. Policeman, you find that one Sunday, July 18th, 2021 from Phantoms and Monsters website. And that, my friends, is going to do it for this edition of the Squatchers Lounge podcast. I do have a quasi theory for us to listen to here at the end. I appreciate everybody being out there. I just want to make sure that I didn't miss anybody here. I think everybody has checked in. If I missed you, I'm so sorry. It's just going to be one of those nights. We'll be back again. Let's see here next week. What is next week? Next week, I'm going to try and get Wes to come in. Maybe we'll do a Bigfoot Entertainment Monthly. We kind of move those to the end of the month. So we'll watch a crazy-ass Bigfoot movie, and we'll move on from there. I want to thank all you guys for being here. And as always, may the Squatch be with you until next time. Where the hell did that go? Why isn't it up? I don't understand. Yeah, in your butthole, as your old pal Wes would say. Now it's not showing up at all. God damn it. So how do I make that go away? Share screen. Okay, fine. There we go. All right. There. Finally. Figured it out. All right, gang. We'll see you next week. Love you. Mean it. May the Squatch be with you. What the hell is that? I don't know about you, but I'm pretty sure that was a Bigfoot. Let me tell you a story. These stories are based upon true events. Welcome to another Bigfoot Campfire Story. Marvin and his family had lived on the edge of the Sierras for several years. Living in the valley below the huge mountaintops was an adventure in itself, and the wildlife that would visit his farm seemed well worth it. One summer, his son Jimmy and daughter Jemmy had been playing in the woods for what seemed like days on end. He had a feeling something was going on. He just wasn't sure what. Until one day, he discovered their secret. I had grown up on a farm just like this one down the road. My parents sold the place when I was a teen to move into the city to get a better education. Now that I was a father, I wanted my kids to grow up the same way I did, so I found a farm for sale near Sierra City, and we bought it to raise the kids. For the first few years, I hadn't noticed anything different. The entire area seemed to be just like I remembered. The kids were not big enough to start playing on their own until just recently, and they really enjoyed hikes in the woods at the edge of our farm. It wasn't until the summer he turned 10 and she turned 11 that things started to change. The kids seemed to never be at the house. I would come in from the barn for lunch, only to find that they had packed a lunch and would be gone all day once more. Well, I asked my wife Judy what she thought of it, and she says that the kids had met a friend from the next farm and they were out playing with him, so not to worry. Well, when I inquired about the name of this friend, Judy didn't really have an answer, nor where this boy lived or where he belonged, so I began to worry just a little bit. Well, that afternoon, I finished up at the barn a little early, and the kids hadn't returned for supper yet, so I saddled up Chester, our trail mule, and decided I'd go find them. It shouldn't be too hard to find children playing in the woods, and I had an idea where they would be down by the creek, as that's where all the most fun was. Well, as Chester and I slowly made our way up the creek bed, I started noticing what looked like large human footprints. Strange-looking things, half as wide as they were long, with no arch, and wide toes about 13 inches long. These weren't bear tracks. They certainly were entirely wrong for that. And they continued up the creek bed for some way, so I kicked Chester on and followed the tracks up the creek. Well, just as the tracks peeled off from the creek bed was when I heard my kids for the first time, a faint sound of them playing in the creek. Well, as Chester and I rounded the last corner near the kids, they sounded to be playing tag in the field on the other side of the creek, so we headed up the hill and began to call out, "Jimmy! Gemma!" And as I came to the creek clearing, I saw someone running off in the other direction. Well, the kids come running towards me and just laughing and tell me that I scared Harry off, that they had just been playing tag with him all afternoon. Well, I asked where Harry lived, and the kids both said that he must live in the woods, as they never see him around outside of the woods. Well, Jimmy blurts out that she thinks he's a wild boy because he doesn't speak like us. And Jimmy yells out, "You know he's a Bigfoot kid. That's why he's covered in hair and doesn't wear clothes." Well, now things had gotten a little strange for my taste. My kids are not known for telling stories like this, so I knew something had to be taken serious enough. So I got down off of Chester and tied him to a nearby tree. The kids told me that they usually see Harry by a teepee in the woods, so I had them take me there. We walked for what seemed to be about maybe a mile, maybe less, and I started to see those strange tracks again. But this time they were much bigger. That's when the scariest moment of my life had happened. Just as we stepped and spotted this teepee in the distance, I spotted Harry near the opening. The kids called out to him, but he didn't respond like they had intended. This hairy creature reared his head back and screamed out the most haunting call I had ever heard. Well, my heart quickened and I began to sweat, and that's when the creature turned and looked at me, stood up, and the kids screamed, "That's not Harry!" Well, the creature was gigantic. I'm 6 feet tall, and this thing seemed to dwarf me in size. I grabbed the kids by the hands, and I yelled, "Run to Chester!" And the kids took off while I stood my ground. Well, the creature stomped over to where I stood, and it's just now feet from me as it stood over 7 foot tall. Wide at the top of the chest and narrow at the waist, a very large quad muscles moved under the coating of long, thick-looking brown hair. It knocked me straight to the ground with a shove and watched the kids run off out of sight. He then turned his attention to me. Squatting down overlooking at me, it was considering what to do with me. It poked me in the chest so hard I thought the finger would go through it, and it pushed me around side to side. I was just simply frozen in fear, and he could see it. Finally, it stood back up, grabbed me by the jacket, and shoved me in the direction of my kids. I still couldn't move, but then it began running at me and screaming, and my legs began to work and run the direction of the kids and Chester. By the time I reached the top of the hill and looked back, the creature was no longer in sight. I quickened my pace, thinking it may be heading for the kids, and now the sun was starting to go down and the woods began to darken. I arrived back to where I tied Chester up, but he was gone. As I looked around, I noticed the marks in the grass that the kids were on Chester and must be heading home. So I began to run. After about a quarter-mile sprint through the woods, it had gotten too dark to move quickly, but now I could hear the hee-haw of the donkey, and the kids were just ahead of me. I called out for them to stop. Sure enough, they waited for me to catch up. As I grabbed the reins from them to lead them the rest of the way home, the kids began to tell me of all the fun they had with Harry this summer. But whatever that thing wasn't Harry, but looked just like him. One day while they were hiking in the woods, they saw the teepee from a distance and went to check it out. When they got there, they found the juvenile Bigfoot Harry sleeping there, but nothing else. Well, they left it there and went to play in the creek until Harry came and started to play with them. Each day, Harry would run off just before sunset, and they would come home for dinner. It wasn't until this event that they realized what was really going on. Well, as we walked along, we decided it was best not to tell Mom what had happened, as she would never let them out of the house again. But that area of the woods was now off limits to everyone, including me, and they agreed that whatever was out there, they didn't want to meet ever again. That was the last time any of them had come across Harry the Wild Man. Jimmy and Gemma both went off to college some years later, but Marvin and his wife had stayed there for many years after without incident. It goes to show the differences in these Bigfoot stories. Some are murderous monsters in the night, while others just want to play tag in the field with your kids. Thanks for listening. I'm Reverend Jeff, and may the Squatch be with you.